Okay, I'm going to skip through a bunch of these because we got through like half of them last time. I think we made it to 40. So I'm going to skip. There should be an easier way to do this. I don't know that I know it. If anybody's real quick, you might be able to get some points on the board by answering these quickly. You got to be able to beat me on the skip button. %30 of landlord's expenses. Anybody remember what that one what is? It's a net lease. Mortgages are recorded in order to substantiate a lien, create a valid lien. Taking of another person's rights and obligations in a pre-existing contract. Remember, there's the giving and the taking. So which one is the taking? The taking is the assumption. What must be contained in the HUD Fair Housing Poster? Address. This is super slow. All right, we might jump in somewhere in the middle. Although it's good for you to read some of these questions because the questions are questions from like CompuCram. So where does the real estate licensee get the 19 articles of the canons of ethics? You know, it's the Ohio Real Estate Commission. So we can do a lightning round. In Ohio, under what circumstances can a real estate broker pay a referral fee to an out-of-state broker? As long as they are in the state or out of the state. So out-of-state broker doesn't perform any other real estate in the state. What is the fee to transfer a real estate salesperson's license from one brokerage to another? It is $34. What lien automatically attaches to a commercial property to secure a broker's commission? So the name is in the name. It's a broker lien. What type of deed would a buyer of real property prefer? A buyer would prefer the general warranty deed because that's the most secure. Hope's mortgage created a lien against the property she purchased with the mortgage. What kind of lien is this? It is a voluntary lien. What special term do foreclosed properties often present? There could be hidden title issues. Which of these is not a way an Ohio agency relationship can be legally terminated? Salesperson dies. Salesperson is not part of the agreement. The fee for renewing a broker's license is, which I don't know why they make you do this one, $243. They should ask you what the fee for your license would be. A meeting of the minds refers to the offer and acceptance of a contract. The hazardous material used to make insulation for heating ducts in houses is called asbestos. What is not an example of real property? This one's a weird one because it's drapes, but there's some. I thought they were going to do that one about the key. A lump sum payment of principal is due at the end in which type of promissory note? A lump sum payment, that is a balloon. So think it widens out at the end. Complaints based on Title 8 should be filed with your Office of Equal Opportunity. While both the mortgage deed and the mortgage note are signed by the borrower, the note is not recorded. What is not a fiduciary duty of an Ohio real estate licensee? Loan arranging. Better question, I should have read you what are the duties. Jules is new to property management. Which of the following tasks may be one of her duties? So duties of a property manager would be creating a budget for next year's projected maintenance costs. Effective gross income best describes gross income minus a figure for vacancy and collection losses. So that is effective gross income, vacancy and collections. When does a customer become a client? That is when she enters into an agency relationship. Now remember, you can have implied agency. The offeror is the person who makes the offer. What are known cancer-causing agents called? Carcinogens. Oh, somebody jumped in there. Nice. Good try. The principal broker has the following duties except. Yes, except prepare listing agreements. The listing broker does not do that. The purpose of the Ohio Real Estate Canons of Ethics is to make it bring professional standards. From where does the real estate licensee get the 19 articles of the Canons of Ethics? Canons of Ethics. So it is the Ohio Real Estate Commission. All right, almost there. A broker lists a home. This agreement can be terminated by all of the following except, remember, bankruptcies and deaths. So death of a salesperson is the exception. A seller dies during a 90-day listing agreement. What is true? Listing is terminated by operation of law. To be an effective property manager or licensee must be familiar with a variety of lease agreements. All right, we made it. Okay, now let's get going. An example of this type of leasehold estate is a month-to-month lease. All right, what we got? Periodic estate. Good job, everyone. So periodic estate. Hang on, I'm letting some people into the room. So that is a month-to-month lease. So think period. So it's periodic estate, month-to-month. What would enhance the value of real property? A picture of Mona Lisa hanging in the hallway, a toxic waste dump being built next door, an above-ground pool, or a two-car garage? All right. Some people picked above-ground pool. Even if it was an in-ground pool, it doesn't necessarily raise property value. It can. But the reality of it is this: some people will look at a pool as a benefit. Some people will look at it as a hazard. Lots of people fill them in if there are below ground pools. So Insurance is going to be higher, things like that. So a 2-car garage is actually the only thing that would enhance the value of real property. An above ground pool actually isn't considered part of the property either, because it's not really affixed in a way that would make it permanent. It could be just taken off. So remember, anything that's going to enhance the value of the real property would be affixed to the property in a way that would make it permanent or appear to be permanent. A property is valued at $100,000 and is taxed at 45 mils. The assessment rate on the property is 35%. So what is the yearly tax? Remember, mils, 1 for every 1,000. 1 for every 1,000 is your mils. So if it's valued at 100,000 and it's taxed at 45 mils, you take 100,000 times 35%, because that's the rate, the assessment rate. You take the value by the assessment rate, and then you use that and take 45 times 1,000, and then that gets you the 1,575. So 45 divided by 1,000. Sorry.
Hey, what is the game pin again? I lost connection.
Oh, yep, no worries. Game pin is at the bottom. It's 451467. So can you see that down here?
Yes, thank you. I got it.
Uh-huh. Uh-oh. Did I lose you guys?
Already you're able to join soon.
There you are. All right. All right, let's keep going. Oh yeah, TH, 3 correct answers. If Ed purchases a property from Susan by an installment land contract, when will title pass to Ed? So when does he get it? When the deed is placed in escrow, when the contract has been signed by all parties, when the deed is delivered to the buyer, or when the seller exercises the liquidated damages clause? It's an interesting one. Liquidated damages clause. Why would they do that? There you go. Yes, when the deed is delivered to the buyer. So title will pass when the deed passes. What duties are owed to a third party, a customer, involved in a real estate transaction? Now remember, this is everybody. Duty to obtain financing, duty to advocate, duty to represent, duty to treat honestly and fairly. And this may come up a couple times in your test because it's an important one. They may ask it differently. Yes, honesty and fairness. Good job. Everybody got that. The basic requirements for an offer include neither objective intent nor subjective intent to contract, objective intent, both objective intent and subjective intent to contract, or just subjective intent to contract. Now remember, subjective intent is only what they're thinking, right? Objective intent. Yeah, so you don't put in a contract what people are thinking. You can't be a mind reader. So only objective intent. Which one of the following actions would result in the legal termination of an agency agreement? The client wants the seller to make improvements to the property. There's an unexpected death in the agent's family. The client wants to attach an addendum to the sales contract. The term specified in the agency agreement expired. Yeah, there you go. Everybody got that one. The salesperson will have a buyer sign an Ohio State agency disclosure form at the closing, prior to the qualifying the buyer, prior to writing an offer, or prior to showing the properties. Ohio State agency disclosure. So this one gets a lot of people. They confuse it with consumer guide. So
prior to
yep.
Right. Yep.
Yep, prior to writing an offer, because the consumer guide is at first contact, at first substantial contact. So when you say prior to showing the properties, you're thinking, or qualifying the buyer, you're thinking of the consumer guide. The agency disclosure is part of, prior to writing a contract, you have them disclose who's working for who. And you'll be asked what number is each. So there's, agent solely with one side or the other is number one. Number two is agents working at different firms. Number three are agents operating in dual agency. So you will be asked that. So agency disclosure form is prior to writing an offer. A broker who deposits clients' money in the same bank account as the brokerage's operating fund is guilty of. Think about getting together. How do you get together? Is it conversion? Is it a merger? Is it binding? Is it commingling? There you go.
Comingling.
Commingling. That's right. When you mix them together. Although I say getting together, merger means the same thing, just different. So commingling is when you mix the money. What will happen if an applicant is charged with misconduct either prior to, during, or after the examination? The applicant will be charged with misdemeanor. The applicant's application will be denied. The applicant will have to immediately reapply and retest, or the applicant sponsoring broker will be suspended.
D, the applicant immediately reapply.
Yep. The applicant's application will be denied. So a little confusion on this one. We have somebody in every category. So yeah, immediately denied if they're charged with misconduct either prior to, during, or after the examination. How many hours of continuing education are required by an Ohio licensee over a 3-year reporting period? 30, 20, 35, or 26? Oh, some people are waiting to see it. All right. Yeah, it's 10 a year, so it's 30. And I do want to go back to that last question about misconduct. If you were planning on taking your exam online, proctored, be very careful. Any noise, any background noise can get you kicked out and violated for cheating, and then you will have to reapply with the division and pay all over again. So make sure you're in a secure spot with great internet where there's no distractions, nothing. I talked to somebody at PSI and they said they've kicked people out for the doorbell ringing, for dogs barking, for someone cutting the grass next door. So you got to be careful. Even if the sound they hear isn't necessarily from you or your house, if somebody's talking and they can hear it, you're automatically kicked out. So be careful on the proctored exams. If a property has an assessed value of 87.5 and the level of assessment was 35%, what is the value of the property? 250, 150, 275, or 300,000? So 87.5 divided by 35%. People are waiting on that answer. Come on, it's right there. Only 3 of you. All right. So yeah, 250,000. So 87.5 divided by 35% gives you the higher number of 250. So if your assessed value is 87.5 and the level of assessment is 35%, you're going to divide that 87.5 by the 35%. All right, for anybody who still wants to join, just jumping in, the Kahoot game ID, the game pin is down at the bottom. 451467. Join us on Kahoot and play along. Net income best describes potential gross income, income before expenses, income after expenses, or effective gross income. So net. So effective gross wouldn't be net. Anything that says gross wouldn't be net because that's not what net is. It's gross or net. All right, so income after expenses. So income before expenses is your gross income. Gross income is the income you get before you take out expenses, and then that gives you your net. Same thing with like real estate. Your real estate, you're going to get a commission check. So that's your gross commission income. So your gross. And then you want to take your expenses from your gross, take your taxes out, and well, taxes aren't part of net. Take your expenses out and your cost of sale, and that gives you your net income. So net income is after gross and after expenses. So it's gross income minus expenses equals net. A partially amortized note that reduces part of the principal by the time the final payment is due is often called a fully amortized loan, a conventional loan, balloon payment, balloon note, or a wraparound mortgage. So this is the second time balloon has kind of come up in this. So yeah, it's a balloon because you're only partially paying the principal down. So you're going to have most of that principal that's still due at the end of the loan. So a fully amortized loan means that it pays down all the principal and the interest by the end of the loan.
That was tricky because usually a balloon is like one big payment at the end. That's what I'm
Well,
used
that's what
to.
they were saying. They were saying you only pay
Okay.
down part of the principal.
Okay, was the wording. Okay.
Yeah, so you're paying down part of the principal. So your principal, the actual amount you borrowed, is mostly still there. You've just paid you've paid all the interest and then part of the principal, and now you have the rest of the principal to pay off.
Okay, got it.
What factors does the underwriter consider in reviewing a mortgage loan application? Capacity, collateral, and criminal record, credit, capacity, and collections, credit, capacity, and collateral, or credit, credentials, and collateral. All right. So collections are going to be part of your credit. So those they use two words for kind of the same thing. So your credit has to do with your, what you have on your credit line, but collections are part of your credit history. So those things are one and the same almost. Not they're part of each other. Let me put it that way. So credit, capacity, and collateral. What your credit is, your capacity to pay it back, and what you have also to put down on it as collateral for the loan. So typically in a home, the home is the collateral for the loan. At what point in time must an agent give a buyer the consumer guide to agency relationships? Oh, this is one we talked about earlier. Prior to the second showing of the house that was open, at the closing, prior to showing property in open house, at the loan application table.
Showing of the property.
Yep. Because you don't have to give it to people at an open house. The only time you do is if you start talking terms or anything like that, if they start asking you questions where you're talking about any kind of thing, terms for an agreement or anything like that, or asking them about their income or ability to purchase the property, then you have to do the consumer guide. But yeah, prior to the second showing of the house that was open. So you don't have to do it on the first open house, just the second. And they look at it as first substantial contact. So an open house may not be substantial contact. Which would a buyer prefer, land installment contract or purchase money mortgage? All right. Yes. Purchase money mortgage. In most states, the listing broker has a fiduciary duty to the all right, to the client. Yes. So, and for those of you that said buyer, if it's a listing broker, it would be the seller. So the listing broker has a duty to the client, but the listing is the seller side. The selling agent would be the buyer side. So wording is key in these tests. A contract in which each party to the agreement has an obligation under that agreement is a unilateral, bilateral, breach of contract, or tendering performance. All right, good job. So unilateral is when only one side of the party has an obligation. So think about your first right of refusals, options to buy, things like that. Those are unilateral contracts because the only person who's obligated under that situation is the seller to, who has agreed to the terms. The buyer can back out at any time. If they say they don't want the option or don't want to do it, they can always go out. So that's a unilateral versus a sales contract between a buyer and a seller is a bilateral agreement or bilateral contract. Under what condition can an assistant talk with a client about the terms of an offer? I'm not going to read these, they're long. You all can read them. Oh, there's some hesitance on this one. There we go. All right. When the assistant has a license to practice real estate, yes. So that's it. In order to talk to any clients about terms or anything like that, they have to have a license. That is Ohio law. Which of the following features is most likely to be the cause of an adjustment to a comparable when preparing a CMA? So what's likely to be cause of an adjustment? And he's working hard on that stump. All right. Busy street. So for those that said demographics, remember, demographics is a slippery slope. You don't want to get caught on that one because, Fair Housing Act. So we're not going to get into, the demographics of a neighborhood. You are not going to talk to your clients about the demographics of neighborhoods. You will let them explore that on their own. They can look into all those demographics if they want to. That is not your job. Please do not do it. You will be in violation and subject to big penalties. So yes, busy street. Interest rates, again, interest rates have nothing to do with comparables when looking at a comparable CMA. Interest rates are with lending. When you're doing a CMA, you're basically looking at houses in the neighborhood or nearby that are similar like properties, what they went for, and that's when you start adjusting. We don't deal with the lending side of it. We're just looking at the number side on our end, on the sales end. So busy street, and nobody picked color. You know, color makes a difference, but it doesn't really change price. Although I will say this, color can drastically reduce how much a buyer will pay for a property too. When can a broker reveal confidential information about a client? Oh, people were all over this one. Let's see how many of you got it right. Under subpoena. Ah, see, everybody jumped in. It's typically under no circumstances or never, but if a court requires you to say it, you got to say it. So that's the only time you can reveal confidential information about a client. And you know, we talked about color. I just want to make sure you understand I'm talking about paint color and things like that. So a mortgage is recorded to, we actually went over this in the early ones. This is a repeat. Everybody should get this one. Why are mortgages recorded? They are recorded to create a valid lien. Way to go. For a conventional loan, how much of a borrower's income can be used to service debt? Remember, there's the percentages. So total debt load, how much can be used to service debt? They gave that one to you too quickly. 36%. So 28, for the one person who said 28, that's just what your loan with interest, taxes, and insurance. So they call that PITI, principals, interest, taxes, and insurance. So 28 is how much that can cost according to your monthly income. 36 is your total debt load. Who administers the real estate license law? Division of Real Estate. Everybody got that for the most part. So yeah, that's just one you're just gonna have to know. Who administers the real estate license law? It's the Ohio Division of Real Estate. It's who you're going to apply to for your license. That's who administers it. When the principal terminates the agency relationship before it expires, it is called revocation. So we're going to go over that real quick. So they don't have it in there. All right. So yeah, revocation. Rescission is like the right to pull back from a deal. So you're rescinding. So, and then renunciation is renouncing. What document serves as escrow instructions? Escrow instructions. What document are the instructions? Oh, there we go. Half and half, a good faith estimate. All right. So it's always going to be your purchase agreement. It's going to be the contract. So the contract is it's going to be the instructions for the title company. It's going to be your escrow instructions. Your good faith estimate is when it comes to your lender. So again, lender, your HUD one, those are things for your loan and your mortgage. Whereas the title company is only going to be looking at the purchase agreement for their instructions. How much to put down is how much to expect for the earnest money. When does it close? Does it have a home warranty? All those things are the instructions to the title company. They're all in your purchase agreement. Janine Smith Scott is having trouble joining. She's been joining for a minute. The leasehold estate that can be terminated by either party and cannot be assigned is tenancy at will. All right, most of you got that. Joint tenancy is the other one, but yeah, tenancy at will, based on the wishes of the party. Who determines whether an Ohio complaint should proceed to a formal hearing? All right. Majority got it wrong. Real estate commission. Yeah, it's the superintendent. So the superintendent is the one who figures out if it should go to a formal hearing or not. And the formal hearing is done through the real estate commission. To sit for the Ohio broker's examinations, a licensed salesperson must have completed how many real estate transactions? They gave you that answer like right away. That's right, 20. 20 transactions to sit for a broker's examination. An out-of-state prospect asks an agent to locate a diverse neighborhood for him. The agent should yes. Good job, everybody. That is your choice to not take the prospect. And you can always just tell them that, hey, they can look that up on your own. You can always say no to that and still take the money and take the deal. And it is always your choice on who you work with. So just remember that. You can fire your clients at any point. You do not have to work with anyone you do not want to work with. At least at our brokerage. I don't know about others. The amount a broker may charge for a commission is there you go. Good job. Yeah. Just remember, it's never going to be written down anywhere else. A disabled tenant was denied permission to install a handlebar in the shower. What law has the landlord violated? Man, just giving it to you right away. Hopefully you all knew that it was ADA. I didn't just read it. Got a couple fair housing. There you go. So remember, fair housing is about purchasing the property, actually buying it. Once you own it, and you're inside of it or making changes for disability, then it becomes the Americans with Disability Act. So purchasing is about the Fair Housing Act, purchasing or renting. Which of the following entities doesn't actually create Ohio real estate licensing laws or rules, but enforces them? You guys hear how I said entities? That was really weird. Real Estate Commission. There you go. Good job. Yeah, because remember, just like we said earlier, the superintendent can put you to a formal hearing and then you're judged by the commission. So the Division of Real Estate, they're the ones who issue the licensing laws and all that other stuff. But the enforcement of it goes down to the Real Estate Commission. What happens to an initial offer from the buyer after a seller counters? Good job. Yeah, it is no longer in play. Which word or clause in a mortgage pledges real property as collateral for the debt? I love when they put all the words in the question rationale, because then you never know. Just because you see it doesn't mean it's the right one. Yes, hypothecation. Hypothecation is when the word that pledges the property as collateral for the debt. A dual agent cannot. That's right. It's all of them. It's all of the answers. So that's another thing. In the exam, you may read that first one and you're like, oh, absolutely, they can't do this. But it may be they can't do all of them. So make sure you read all of them before you make your response. A broker lists a home. Which cannot terminate this agreement? I feel bad for the salesperson. Nobody cares if the salesperson dies. The contract continues. An option agreement is a, ooh, we talked about this earlier. That's right. Unilateral contract, because it's an option. Remember I said first right of refusal or option agreements are unilateral because the only person obligated to perform if it's carried out is the seller. The buyer does not have to buy if they choose not to. Harvey enters into a lease where he must pay 30% of the landlord's expenses. Which type of lease did Harvey sign? Oh, this one we went over too. Who can remember? 30% of the landlord's expenses. All right, that's a net lease. So yeah, everybody got that. There was gross lease in there too, but yeah, net. I'm actually pretty pleased. Most people see percentage in the question and pick percentage lease. So great job. Good job on not falling victim to that. A seller gave her agent a check for getting her house sold so quickly. What must the salesperson do with the check? Who pays you? Who pays you as an agent? Can the seller pay you? That's the question. All right, good job. Which of the following is an example of commingling? Most of you got this earlier. Let's see if you all get it this time. Nobody wants to answer. Oh, you're all reading. Good. Good. Read all the answers first.
Mixing earnest money with personal funds.
There you go. Good job. Yeah, 2 earnest money deposits are fine as long as it's going into your trust account. It's just when you mix it with your personal funds or your business funds that it's commingling. In a suit brought under the federal fair housing law as amended, punitive damages may be as much as. That's why you got to be careful. There is no limit on the punitive damages. A real property transfer fee of $1 million on the sale of real estate at a total consideration of $63,500 equals 1 for every 1,000. Right, 6350. So you're basically dividing the number by 1,000 to get to 6350. A brief summary of a property's history listing all recorded documents that may affect the title is a see how I didn't give it away by saying an? Abstract of title. Title report lists all the damages. So when you're looking at title report, so a title report is all the defects of the property. So anything that's wrong with it is in the title report, whereas the abstract of title lists the history. All right, we're going to stop here. TH is the winner, number 1. Although Lex was coming, highest answer streak of 7. Way to go, Lex. So,
Thank you.
yeah, way to go. Way to go, way to go. So, we've got a lot coming up. So, hopefully, you all are feeling prepared. Use your CompuCrams. We may go back to that next week. I've done Kahoot 2 weeks in a row, so we may go back to something else just to keep it fresh and interesting. But yeah, you know, uh, take heart. You know, the exam is, you know, it's difficult, and at the same time, if you come at it in a systematic way, you can get through it. So, you know, you're almost there. And, you know, for those of you that may have already taken it once or twice, or I know great real estate agents that have taken it 4 or 5 times and become great real estate agents. So just take heart that, you know, lots of people don't pass on their first time. And, you know, it doesn't change the amount of money you can make in real estate, you know? So just know that just because you didn't pass on your first time, no client is going to ask you how many times it took you to pass your real estate license exam. No one will ever ask you that. So just know that it's never going to come up, and it's never going to make a difference once you pass. So just get on it and get past it. And once you do, you're off to the races. And it's just a matter of, you know, achieving whatever your life's desire is at that point, because the purpose of business is to fund the perfect life. So that's what we do this for, is to be able to live the life that we want, enjoy the things that we want, and help the people that we want to help.
Yeah.
So any questions for me before we hop off? You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope you all are getting value. I feel free to give me feedback. This is a work in progress. You know, if there's anything that you want from me that I'm not providing, let me know. I'm here to help you. And Alexia, you were trying to say something. What was that?
Oh, I just said this is great. Thank you. I take my test
Oh, you're welcome.
on the 6th, so I'm cramming.
All right. Yeah.
Good
You know,
luck.
it's getting there. So, all right. Well, you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it that you all show up and participate. It makes it go, you know, so much better, and you will do great. So you've got it, and I'll see you on the other side when you come into the office to do the onboarding.
Yeah.
Oh, and some exciting news in KW. Oh yeah, you just got access to KW Prep. We just went in and fixed all that. So all of you should be getting your emails if you haven't already for KW Prep. So enjoy that, get on it, use it. It's going to help you not only with like the real estate exam, it's going to help you with actual real estate. Because remember, the real estate exam is about the rules of real estate. It doesn't actually teach you how to do it. So KW Prep is going to teach you, get you going on how to get prepared for actually doing real estate and making money in the business. The other thing I wanted to say is we're unveiling something new at KW GM. We are working on bringing in someone to help train you in the very beginning on getting into all the systems. So we already have, you know, you set up with productivity coaching for a year. We're bringing someone else on that's going to help you get set up with the systems and get you into the models. So, you know, keep going. Wait, there was a question on KW Prep. Is there anything I need to do to get to module 3? I don't know. Let me check. I didn't know there was a break between the modules. So I can look into that. But yeah, you know, we hear you, and we know that getting started is the hardest part in real estate. So we're here to support your goals and help you get there. So looking forward to seeing you all on the other side where we can get you into these programs and get you going in real estate. All right. You all have a good night. Thanks so much.